Millions of unique species of snakes are found on our planet. Some of these are venomous and hostile, while others just like to swallow other animals whole. Though not all of these snakes are vicious predators, some are actually pretty friendly. After all, we do come across quite a few people who keep these slithering, dreadful creatures as their pets. If you thought this class of reptiles doesn't have a vast and wonderful variety, you're mistaken, because in today's video we'll be introducing you to snakes so incredible you never would have imagined that they existed. But before we get started, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe and click the notification bell for more amazing content. Otherwise, these snakes are going to haunt you in your nightmares. Sea snake goes paddleboarding. Fun fact, sea snakes are mostly prone to biting others when they're unable to find a mate. Let's be honest, singlehood does make all of us a tad bit cranky, so we can't blame the poor snake. This hostility is a characteristic feature of the sea snake, however, as you can see how this snake approaches the paddleboarder with the attitude of a true predator. Why is it behaving this way? Well, because it's looking for a mate, and from what we see it seems like the poor guy is getting anxious to find one. The younger snakes tend to take charge of the mating process, which means the older ones don't get to have their pick and are often bullied out of the way by the stronger, more virile snakes. This rejection makes the older snakes more aggressive and dangerous. If this snake had been satiated, he would not have been bothered by this paddleboarder at all. Further, you can see that the frustrated snake even tried getting on, but the user who was filming it forces it back off. But despite that, the snake goes in a direction it thinks it has seen a possible mate. We have to say we would not have reacted as calmly as this man did to an angry snake approaching us. It's hard to believe that the boarder just scared him away by saying no. Maybe love isn't as powerful as an intellectually superior species. Magical rainbow snake. This rare and unreal-looking snake was born many years ago in the American Reptile Zoo. Its unique colouring can be attributed to the two specific snake genes that basically induced this one-of-a-kind visual glamour. This snake is a product of artificially breeding two different snakes, but the analysts were not expecting this colour change. Because of its shiny prism-like skin, tourists and celebrities from around the world visit the zoo to see this wonder of nature up close. In the absence of light, this snake appears midnight black, but as soon as it's exposed to sunlight, this array of beautiful colours starts manifesting. The python has become pretty popular on social media. The caretakers report that the snake isn't poisonous and is actually quite friendly. Jay Brewer, the owner of the zoo, has named her My Love. Puzzle-solving snake. Researchers are always trying to explore these reptiles closely. The more they find out, the more they realize they have yet to figure out, especially the intelligence of these animals and others. Initially, snakes were considered brainless creatures driven solely by instinct, but nowadays research and experimentation have proven that they are much smarter than we give them credit for. For instance, take a look at this snake, which can easily solve switch food puzzles with just a little bit of effort. It takes a while to understand this, but once it has figured out the mechanism, it can solve it easily by pushing the switches and reaching the mouse food multiple times. Researchers have tried changing the place of the food, but the snake still manages to get to it. The snakes actually won over the entire puzzle in just 15 minutes. That has to be some kind of a record. Snake impersonator. This hawk moth caterpillar is a creature known for being the best at camouflaging itself. After all, it doesn't need to blend in and hide like an iguana when it can simply mimic the shape and look of a different, much more dreadful predator, the viper snake. That's one smart move, we have to say. Pretending to be the snake hardly any creature would dare to challenge is an incredibly intelligent move. This defense strategy works for the caterpillar, and most predators back off when they see a viper before them. The moth snake therefore remains relatively safe unless it goes out in the open. These have to be the cleverest of all, and to make it even more exciting, when this caterpillar undergoes metamorphosis, it can easily mimic a hummingbird in flight too. Two-headed milk snake. This snake born with two heads is hardwired in a way that both its heads see the other one as prey and try to eat it. This is one extremely rare snake because with a 1 in a million two-headed physique, it's also an albino snake. That's probably why the owner of this serpent paid $5,000 to obtain it. This kind of creature tends to die as soon as it's born, but a famous man who owned Venice Beach Freak Show decided to include this snake in his collection of exotic-looking animals. You can go and see this snake and many other two-faced animals in the exhibition. If you don't feel appropriate to ask for him, just tell him you want to see Medusa, because that's what the owner named him. The hairy viper. This snake is rightfully named owing to the spiny bush-like scales on its body. These are native to Central African rainforests and swamps. These tend to be smaller in size but are extremely poisonous. Because they usually are tree dwellers, their food consists of small rodents, birds and insects. Their venom contains a potent neurotoxin that can induce several hemorrhages in the organs of the prey. Since they are solitude-loving and nocturnal creatures, they spend most of the daytime among plants and flowers. Like most deadly predators, it waits for the right moment to ambush its prey and then strikes out of the blue. Largest snake in captivity. So this one is also named Medusa since it's a popular snake name, but it doesn't seem an appropriate fit for this enormous and daunting 26.2 foot long snake. It was discovered in a house that the locals thought was haunted. This is a python weighing 350 pounds and is around 15 years old, and to date it's considered the largest snake ever kept captive. But unfortunately the poor creature died not long ago, however it still holds the record. Turns out no one has kept a snake bigger than this since her. It died only 3 days after it was found as it went into stress labor. The captor said they were unaware of her condition, or else they would have just left her alone to birth and raise her young. If only she'd been left alone and the humans would have been cautious enough to care for her health as much as they did themselves. She might still be alive. World's smallest snake. Also known as the Barbados thread snake, this tiny thing is by far the smallest snake found on planet Earth. The maximum length it achieves is around 4.1 inches. These snakes aren't nearly as frightening as their other family members, therefore the diet of these mini snakes mainly includes small insects, larvae and eggs. Their tiny jaws barely open. When it was first discovered, scientists found it hard to decide whether to classify it as a worm or a snake. They're already half their maximum length when they're born and are non-venomous. Their behavior resembles worms much more than snakes. They live underground and move through the earth searching for insects and eggs. Since they lay only one egg at a time, their population is dwindling pretty fast. Cuddly pet python. The parents of this kid must be pretty brave to let a python live so close to their child, but as it turns out, the boy and the python have developed a beautiful friendship. However, a snake so huge can easily swallow the child whole in case it makes up its mind to do so. Therefore, the parents should be more careful about leaving them alone together. Having a massive snake for a pet isn't something normal people think about, but this young Cambodian child has been with this 20-foot-long python that weighs around 260 pounds since his early years. Fun fact, this mother had a dream a few days after the boy was born in which she saw that a giant snake protected her baby and saved her family from impending doom. Maybe that's why they're so attached to this unconventional pet. After 3 months, she found this snake under his bed. It was small at that time, but despite being released into the wild, it kept coming back to him, so finally they caved and decided to consider it an omen. Flying snakes. If snakes were dreadful on the ground, imagine how frightening and dangerous they could be if they're airborne. Hold tight as we introduce you to these flying snakes, who won't bite your ankle out of the blue, rather they'll jump at you and sting you right in the face. These are native to the trees of South and Southeast Asia. They jump from branch to branch and even land on the ground sometimes. They haven't developed any wings, but they have managed to use their undulating bodies to propel themselves further along in the air. These are the kinds of things you only hope to see in movies, but watch out, because you might encounter them for real. Wessie, the giant snake. It's not every day a huge snake appears out of the wilderness and starts terrorizing the locals, but this 10-foot-long monster was sighted devouring a beaver in Westbrook. The residents had no idea this dangerous creature was living amongst them, but soon animal carcasses started appearing in the locale. They had to take a deeper look at the circumstances. Luckily, they found it early or it could have seriously harmed someone. Its head was almost the size of a soccer ball, and people have been hunting it down but haven't been able to capture or kill it even today. Rare tentacled snake. These are the newly discovered species of snakes and were first found in the Smithsonian National Zoo. Everyone who saw them was left astounded, even the caretakers and the zoo animals. The parent tentacled snakes that have been at the zoo for 4 years gave birth to 8 tentacled snake babies. This was a miracle as previously they'd been unable to produce viable offspring even with interventions. These are fascinating aquatic reptiles who prey by ambushing their victims. They anchor themselves in the water with the help of their tails and lash out when the prey is in the vicinity. Their tentacles are sensory organs that help them feel the vibrations created by the fish that swim around them. That means these snakes don't even need to see their prey to ambush it. The Island of Snakes. Now, this beautiful island may look like your next vacation destination, but don't be fooled, because Ilha de Camara Grande is definitely a paradise, but not for humans. Only people who like to be around hundreds and thousands of vicious, venomous snakes would like to visit this place. Dubbed as the Island of Snakes, it has not seen human visitors for many years, and a huge number of poisonous snakes don't really see it as a welcoming sight. The serpent owns this island entirely. According to biologists, an estimated 1 to 5 snakes can be found per square meter, which means you cannot walk here without stepping on or over at least 5 snakes. Since it's an untouched snake sanctuary, it's a breeding ground for many rare snake species. Researchers want to study these rare snakes, but have to be careful, especially when they're in the serpent's empire. Leaf-nosed snake. This one obviously got its name from the leaf-like nose it has. And to be honest, if it wasn't so long, we'd mistake it for a leaf, since it's also the same colour as a leaf. These mysterious creatures are highly poisonous and have characteristic scaly appendages coming out from their snouts. Their bite is considered quite terrible. These are arboreal snakes, and no one knows why they have these appendages, but experts think that these are some kind of sensory structures that help them navigate and spot their prey. Before moving on to number 1, check out this picture that sent the internet into a frenzy. Everyone was trying to figure out whether this is an actual red king cobra or just a different snake. Experts pointed out that it was missing the characteristic hood and it was most likely a corn snake, but the vibrant crimson colour is still hard to justify. According to popular belief, the brighter the snake, the deadlier it could be. Despite resembling the corn snake, there's a huge difference in the pattern and shade of red. So is this a new species or a genetically altered specimen? What do you guys think? Horned snake. This one looks straight out of Game of Thrones. Typically called the Saharan horned snake, it can be considered the devil of all snakes. It does have a rather devilish appearance. This snake is an inhabitant of the northern African desert and the Middle East. It's a pro at disguising itself. Because of its gold and sandy appearance, it easily blends in with the desert sand. It would practically be impossible to spot it if it weren't for those characteristic horns. These nocturnal serpents spend the daytime burying into the sand, trying to evade the scorching desert sun. Well, here's to hoping we never come across any of these snakes, or any snakes as a matter of fact. Which one did you find most frightening? Do share with us in the comments. For more amazing content, make sure you've subscribed to our channel and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. See you all soon. Goodbye.